Howdy, folks, and welcome to the Hunting Stories Podcast. I'm your host, Michael, and we got another great episode for you today. Today, we actually are doing something a little bit new. Today, we are re-releasing an episode that's actually already published. So if you're a fan of the Elk Bros, great, wonderful. But I'm sorry you may have already heard this episode because they released it about a week ago. But what I'm trying to do here, guys, is I'm going to actually go on a road tour, and I am going to get on other podcasts and get their hunting groups together and have them tell stories together where they're giving each other shit, having fun, telling their favorite memories. And I hope you guys enjoy this. I had a great time recording with Joe and the team. And like I said, they're one of my favorite podcasts. If you haven't listened to them, please do. Please check them out. I'm going to put links to their podcast in the show notes. But enjoy, guys. It's a little bit different format. You're going to hear what the Elk Bros do. It's different for them as well. So their normal stuff is a lot more education related, but still they're fun every time. So thank you guys for tuning in. Please let me know how you feel about this. Give me some feedback on Instagram, or I think you can even do it through whatever you're listening to right now. Leave some comments. Let us know what you think of this. I got 2 or 3 more of these scheduled, and I want to know if it's worth my time to keep doing them and if you guys appreciate them. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much. Now let's go ahead and kick this thing off. Thank you.
We're back. That's right, y'all. Joe was crying in his milk. Wah, wah, wah. I'm so lonely. Wah, wah, wah. It's not the same without you guys. And we get it. Looking at his own mug for an hour, that would make anyone cry. Oh, okay, Joe. We got you, bro. On today's show, old Michael Scrogan from the Hunting Stories podcast has been after us to get together with him and share some stories, Elk Bros style. That discussion, our listener shout-outs, and questions from our awesome Elk Bros mailbox. So, my friends, pull up a chair, adjust your volumes just right, and welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting.
This is my life, country born and raised. When that whistle blows, I'm on the trail, pounding in my head. There's a will, there's a way, there's a way, there's a way.
Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting, brought to you by ElkBros.com, with your host Gilbert Ornelas and elk hunting coach Joe Gilly. You want to hunt elk, and they live to hunt elk. Their goal is to share with you what they have learned grinding it out for over 35 seasons, doing what they love. So come on into camp and set a spell. Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunters.
Hello there, everyone. If it's your first time with us, glad to have you. Hope you enjoy the show. And as always, for those blue-collar hunters following our show and grinding out with us every week, welcome back to Elk Camp. I'm Gilbert Ornelas, coming to you from an undisclosed area in West Texas, and actually sitting in the bed, not the bed, but the cab of my truck. So I apologize if any of this audio is a little bit funky, but joining us today is we got the leader of the Venezuelan Mafia, Mr. Luis Gonzalez, in the house. We got the legend R.C. Knox, currently in San Antonio, Texas, and Mr. Leroy Chavez, the ninja. He's in Cimarron, New Mexico, and WWJGD's in the house. And our amigo from the Hunting Stories podcast, Mr. Michael Scrogan, is in the house. What's going on, fellas?
Michael.
Hey, Mike.
Dude, we get to turn the tables on you today, man.
I guess. I hope you guys are telling stories and it's not just me, because you guys got a lot more experience hunting than I do. But I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, but we lie.
Speak for yourself, Joe.
There are storytellers and there are storytellers. And Mr. Ornelas over there can tell the same story 5 times and you'd swear it was 5 different stories. I mean, he is amazing when he tells a story.
They call that professionalism, Joe, in my neck of the woods.
Mo?
That's more than pro.
Professional.
Oh my God! So earlier, Mike was showing us that he had killed an antelope this past season, right? You had a heck of a season, didn't you?
Yeah. This last year I shot 2 axis deer in Hawaii. I shot a cow moose and an antelope, all with my bow. So freezer is full. It was a very good year.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
So when you say like all with the bow, I mean, why did you have to include that? Like my wife, she hunts with our car, right? So I just wonder what you were using.
That's a good point. So I've actually never shot anything with a rifle. So I've been out a bunch, but I've never had success. And this year, all of a sudden, bow hunting clicked for me. So I guess I'm just proud of it, I would have to say, is why I mentioned why with a bow. I've also never killed anything with my car. So your wife's got me there.
Yeah, she tells me, I don't know why it's so hard, man. I go drive down the road, boom, dinner. She's ruined more vehicles, man, hitting deer around Cimarron. We have a great story with that, though. When my daughter was, I guess she was like 2 years old, Brittany's in the back. She's in her car seat. Rhett's coming down the road, I don't know, 50, 55. Deer comes out. She swerves to miss the deer and spins like that. The vehicle comes to a stop, and Britt's like, don't do that again. And, as a little toddler, she says, don't do that again like that. And then as they're pulling through Lambert Hills and she sees the deer, she goes, Mama, deer, kill it. My wife was so pissed at me. It looks like we lost Gil again.
Yep. Gilligan?
Gilligan.
Gilligan.
That's a great nickname. Oh, it's Gilligan. So, Michael, so you said axis deer in Hawaii?
Yeah. I somehow got invited on a trip with some pretty amazing gentlemen. Rick Trimmer, he's just like a self-made like millionaire, and he puts this trip together. Went with him. Ryan Mickler, if you guys know Shed Crazy, just a bunch of great guys, and went out there to Molokai. I don't know if you've ever been out there, but there are no tourists. So you see anyone out there. Every one of us is like 6'4". I'm 6'4". Rick's 6'6". Shed Crazy 6'5". So like a bunch of giant white guys, and all these natives were like, "What are you howlies doing out here?" And we're like, "Oh, we're hunting." They're like, "Oh, good, kill them all," because they're a nuisance out there in Hawaii. I don't know if you guys have hunted them. Yeah, so they eat all of the like plants up to as high as they can reach, and when it rains, that volcanic ash in the soil is flowing into the ocean and killing the coral reefs. So they want them gone. They are a huge pest, like wild hogs down in Texas, huge pest. And so they were like, "Kill them all." We're like, "Oh, we're trying. It's hard." And they're like, "What's hard about it? You just point your gun and shoot." We're like, "Oh, we're shooting with bows." They're like, "Why would you do that? Just take a gun." And it's very true. With a gun, you could shoot them all day, but with a bow, they are wily critters. They are jumpy.
And
That is too cool.
like you wouldn't believe, man. They're really smart.
Yeah, it's crazy. They're from India natively, if you guys don't know, and their only native predator or like natural predator is the Bengal tiger. So I've seen a fawn spook a doe like his own mom, and they were just opposite directions sprinting. Never saw them again. Who knows if they ever ended up together again? But they'll jump at anything.
Wow. Those animals, we have a better population in Texas here of axis deer than they do in India.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because of how well we've taken care of them here. They get along really well with the grasslands here in Texas all over, right? Even in the West Texas market where it's really arid and stuff, they still, they take it in some pretty rough country. They just can't deal real well with the cold.
Yeah.
On Molokai, I think there's like 3,000 people on the island, and there's like 30,000 deer. So you're going to get lots of opportunities. I almost ran out of arrows, and most of them just snapped into the ground. But
they're so good to eat, man.
Delicious.
You throw 10 whitetails in a ditch to eat one axis.
Yeah.
They are one beautiful animal. I hear the meat is unbelievable.
Yes.
Yeah.
And their hides, if you can see over my shoulder here, this is the hide from the buck I shot.
Oh,
Just
beautiful.
gorgeous animals.
Elk, nilgai, axis. I mean, if you never killed a nilgai and ate a nilgai, phenomenal. Better.
Yeah.
And oryx.
Yeah, oryx is really good too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Knox got to see the South Texas landscape last weekend, and I'm telling you, boys, they got another 3 inches down there yesterday.
Awesome. It's
green.
going to be unbelievable.
Yeah.
Mm.
So you need to come down there and hunt now, but you got grass over your head.
Mhm.
Yeah, so when you're hunting the pigs now, you never get to see them. You just see the grass moving, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of fun, man. But I remember that time on the river it was like that too, Gil. I could see just the grass moving, couldn't see the hogs, you know.
Are you ready to elevate your archery game? Summit Bowstrings delivers premium strings for all archers, crafted with bloodline fiber and BCY material stretched for unmatched consistency. Choose from 3 series: Hunter, Competition, and Summit. Each string is built bison tough with unique techniques for extreme durability and performance. Ideal for both seasoned hunters and target archers. Experienced strings designed to handle any challenge. Visit summitbowstrings.com and use HSP10 for a 10% discount.
Joe got nose to nose with a couple of our South Texas pigs because that grass was so thick.
I did. Yep. Yeah. And let me just tell you guys, man, I am so happy to see you guys. Yes, you too, Luis. I'm so happy to see you guys. I mean, I've been missing y'all, man. This stuff of doing that solo, man, let me tell you, you know, just seeing me on the other side and nobody, and I could swear, I don't know how often I
wouldn't
forget
wanna see
where
you
I
on
was
the other
going with
side
something,
either.
end up going someplace else. It's just like poor people. So
Yeah, no, we get you, man. We wouldn't want to see you on the other side.
well, we're getting closer. You know, guys, we're like 90 days out from season.
That makes me so nervous. I feel so unprepared this year, physically, like training wise. I need to get back to it, man.
That's all right, Louise. I'll take care of you.
Yeah, I know. That's the only thing that makes me feel better.
Let's rock this thing because I want to hear some stories, man. I want to hear Michael's story. Chav has never told the story. You know, Michael, I think you've had RC on your show, right?
No, I haven't had RC, but I've had Luis and Manano. Gilbert was actually episode 1.
Yes, sir.
And Joe, I've had you on as well. So, but RC and Chavez, we got to get them on. So we'll get an episode of them, just their stories, sometime soon here, I'm sure.
So,
Michael, did we really get to? Because I thought we didn't get a chance to actually finalize it and do it.
Oh no, we recorded. It was basically you and Manano arguing for an hour. So talking about capybaras. However, I will say this: you did officially say that I am above Manano in the Venezuelan mafia.
Yeah, absolutely, you are. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's well known internationally. Yeah.
International.
What's funny about the episodes of my podcast you guys have been on, every one of you takes credit for the Venezuelan mafia. So I'm going to leave that there. You guys can figure that out. But every one of you says you're the founder or the leader or whatever it is.
It's just a bunch of wannabes, man. That's all it is.
all I know, dude, is when we're walking in the woods, they follow me.
That's yep.
No,
That's
we try
exactly
to
right.
avoid that as much as possible because there's never a good result out of that.
Follow too close.
Get into elk.
That's right. There you go. Absolutely, man. Yeah. So, Michael, before we move on, tell everybody about you and your show, dude, because I think what you guys do and the people you've had on and the stories is just unbelievable. I love the format. I love the people on there. And it's so funny. I've really enjoyed watching you grow in that role as well, and your comfort zone and things you do. I really enjoyed when you had Ted Nugent on. That had to be an experience, right?
That was wrangling him, being like, I don't want to talk politics, Ted. Hunting stories. Give me some hunting stories. And he was politics. He did have one beautiful story about an estranged child he gave away when he was 18 that he reconnected with at when the child was 40. So 40-year gap And the kid was a like crazy liberal chef in New York, is the way Ted put it. But they ended up rekindling, and now they have an annual hunt together. And like this chef just loves it, and he's really into the food aspect of it. And so it was a cool story. But most of the episode was me just being like, Ted, stop talking politics. Actually, it's one of my favorite family things. I told him a joke that my father-in-law told me about Sandhill Crane, and he did not laugh. But my whole family loves that I told my father-in-law is passed, so it's really great because my father-in-law would tell this joke all the time. I'll tell it. It's not a good joke, but I'll tell it real quick.
Yeah.
He says he has a recipe for Sandhill Crane. He says you heat up a fire, get a big fire going, throw a bunch of stones in, get the stones really nice and piping hot. Then you take the breast of a Sandhill Crane, salt and pepper, you throw that in and you bury it in the stones. When it's done cooking, you take it out and you eat the rock. And that was my father-in-law's joke about Sandhill Crane. And I never got it. I've actually never eaten Sandhill Crane, but I told that to Ted Nugent, and he's like, no, it's what do they call it? The
the ribeye
of the sky.
Ribeye in
Yeah.
the sky.
So he was just talking about how good it was, and he's telling me about all this Sandhill Crane, and I tell him that joke, and he just moved on. didn't even laugh.
Yeah. No, but I mean, look, I've had it. And I agree. I mean, it's the ribeye of the sky, man. It's so good. It's really good. I mean, I don't know if they just cooked this in a special way, but I've had it in South Texas, and you just can't believe it that it's coming from a bird. You know?
Yeah. I've heard nothing but good things. I just haven't tried it, and
really
it was just
good.
a joke that my father-in-law told the same jokes over and over. So I told it to Ted Nugent.
I'm that way about ducks, man. I mean, I love shooting the shotgun and hunting ducks. I don't do it because unless I have people that are going to eat the ducks, I just don't like the taste of duck. And every time I do that, like I had people that invited me to their special places to hunt ducks, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I just don't like the flavor. And you hear the same thing every time. Oh, you just don't know how to make it, right? And then they commence to tell me about how they take it and they soak it in milk and they roll it in this and then they hold it in that and then they do all this. And, by the time they do all these concoctions and all this stuff, man, I imagine you can make, boot leather taste good, like that. I'm just not a fan of that flavor.
Well,
we've been into jerky, man. It's really good.
I guess I haven't had any duck jerky, so I'll try anything once, man. Yeah, try anything once. So why don't we do this, man? And I had guys name in here. I copy pasted this stuff here. We're gonna take you guys to the Elk Bros mailbox, man. That's what we're gonna do here. And Chav, why don't you read the first one? I think that's Kurt Tillman.
Kurt Tillman from Orlando, Florida. I listened to Joe talk about putting on a scenario, but he never went back to show how often he calls while doing a scenario. Could you fill in the gaps for me? Thanks, and thank you all for what you guys do. I think I read that. Well, first of all, about Joe not talking about how often he calls. Well, it depends on the situation. Sometimes you call a lot, sometimes you don't. That's my answer. Because it depends on the scenario you're putting on, unless you talked about some.
I think I was actually talking about. I think I was doing a love straighted bull or something like that, and I was talking about how I, do the calls, and I know everybody's asking well, what calls do you use, how often, and stuff like that, and you'll hear us talk all the time about doing a call and then letting it marinate. And so when I'll give you an example. When I killed that bull that I called in 22 over there in that unit 53, beautiful bull, and we realized that the bull was actually down. Looking at the watch, we saw the tracks of the group had actually dropped off into a north face, basically type of ridge down there, and knew that they were bedded down in there just because it was 10 o'clock at the time. So we knew we were there. So I just dropped off the edge, got a good raking stick, went about 20 yards down off of from the top of the ridge so that I'm not skylined and so I can see anything, and it's more believable to those elk because that's where elk will be, off on the side like that. So I started out just with a cow call, and basically it was like when I did my cow calls, it was something like something like that, threw it out in the air and just waited. Now, how long do I wait? At that point, and it seems like an eternity, man, 3 to 5 minutes, right? I think I waited 3 minutes, and then I started raking the tree. And then when I'm raking, I'm always adding sounds. I layer my sounds. So when I'm doing that like that, I'm throwing a cow call out. All right, a small mew, because even bulls sometimes when they rake will put out a little mew when they do it. Almost sounds like a cow.
Can you do those two sounds at the same time?
I am not able to.
It's like, I mean, just kind of let's make it realistic.
So at the Western Hunt Fest, I told the people, I was like, I'm not able to do the sound at the same time. So I told everybody, all right, when I go down, you go. So I went like that, and the whole crowd like that. I came up, you go, and so I actually started doing the motion. They started doing the sound. It was killer, man. It was so much fun. You were videoing that too, weren't you?
Hey, you did it in Denver. It was good,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Did it at Denver, right?
Yeah. When they're raking too, man, they'll make some really the real low growl, like you can hear them, as they're raking, and they'll kind of moan and pant a little bit too. So I've seen them do that in the wild, and try to mimic that when I'm raking as well.
Yeah. And then when I do that, I just let it sit. How long? 3 to 5 minutes, because I'm listening to see if anything is responding. And what's funny was on this particular day, I wasn't 5 minutes into the routine when I caught movement and then saw it coming in. So generally that gap in time is you just feel it. Just put it out in the air. Listen a little bit, because elk aren't constantly making those noises all the time. They'll come out, and what you got to realize is what's happening on the other side. So when you're thinking about what's happening on the other side, when a bull hears that bull comes up with those ears and those radars, and he's listening just like you would if you heard an elk call out there. You're going to stop and you're going to listen, and you're hoping to hear it again so you can pinpoint it and move in on it. Elk do the same thing that we do. They're hunting other elk the same way we are, because when they hear those sounds, they're going to go to those sounds, but they're going to go to them in their time. So sometimes I will make some cow sounds, and then maybe a minute later I just throw one out. And then I'm going to let it go for maybe 3 to 5 minutes before I start my next one. I just want to make sure that I have some gaps in time, try to keep it natural, and try to let it flow like that. And for how long? If I am doing a static setup where I am set up someplace, doing a scenario and trying to pull an animal in there, it's 30 to 45 minutes when I'm doing it. If I'm doing any kind of rut fest, I'm doing that. If I'm doing any type of situation where I try to sound like elk moving on a ridge and do a cow pickle or something like that, I'm going to do that for a length of time. In fact, the time that Gil shot his bull, I was ready to give up on it 30 minutes in, and Gil's like, "Whoa, bro, I think I heard something down there." And we're like, "Really?" Well, let's see what happens. And sure enough, we had a bull that he came from, man, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile away, jumps a fence, comes up the hill, comes right into us, comes over the stop and scan spot. He's about 38 out when he first sticks his head over, comes into about 30, stands in front of Gil, and he is just searching us out. He even did some chuckling and bugling to try to get a response from us. And man, it was just a perfect situation, and Gil handled it like a pro and ended up putting that bull. When he shot that bull was dead in 10 seconds. So pretty cool. I hope that helps you, man.
Hey, hunters. Have you ever had one of those stories, the ones that you didn't want to tell, the ones that end in failure. Yeah, I've been there. Actually, you know what? The culprit for me usually is bad optics, or worse, lack of using my optics at all. Picture this. I spot a trophy buck, or an antelope, or an elk, whatever it may be. My heart is racing, but the blurry view, or I just can't quite identify exactly what I'm looking at, it has me second guessing. Well, that's where Vortex Optics comes in. With crystal clear glass and rugged durability, Vortex gives you the confidence to take the shot. Don't let poor optics ruin your story. Make every moment count. Upgrade to Vortex and turn your hunting tales into triumphs. Visit vortexoptics.com today.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal. We had to really exercise some patience too, Joe. I mean, like you said, you were ready to bail, and I heard a log down there get kicked. You know, I was like, and I thought I heard him growl once, like, ooh, and I'm like, Joe, do one more lost cow call, and then he blew up, and that was when you were like, oh, well, maybe we'll stay here another minute or so. And it got closer and closer and closer, and then you just gotta, you know. You got to check their temperature, and then like it would have been easy for us to turn around and leave. You know, had we had done that, we would have never got that opportunity.
Bro, I just got to tell you, man, it's really you look like you're out of one of them horror flicks, because when you come in, it's like we see this dark thing, and then we start to see some shadows from
Sounds
the
like
face.
a ghost.
That's hilarious.
I don't know why it's doing that, but it does.
Yeah. I'll take number 2, Taylor Jackson from Kansas City, Missouri. Hey, guys, love your show. I'm planning a scouting trip here in July for my hunt in Colorado. Is July too early? Will there be any benefit, and what should I be looking for? Michael, have you gone scouting in July?
I have. I've put up cameras. I'll tell you my experience, and I'll also put a little asterisk on that, being that, like, I am a novice hunter as far as I'm concerned. Gotten lucky a few times, but I'd rather be lucky than good. But when I put out cameras and I go out, I see elk, and every day there's elk on those cameras. And then I go out and the season starts and there aren't elk where I'm hunting. So that's my experience with going out then, and why I've stopped putting out cameras, because I get so excited and then it's a big crash for me personally. So the elk are doing something different than they would be in September is my experience. And I'll let the experts, the Elk Bros, actually.
Let me ask you though,
advice.
bro, what elk were you seeing on camera? Cows, bulls? What were you seeing?
Everything. We put up cameras. We saw, and these cameras were at 10,000 feet in the mountains. We saw antelope. We saw bear. We saw turkey. We saw fox. We saw mule deer, does, bucks. We saw elk. Literally everything you could imagine. We were like, this is going to be the greatest hunting season we've ever had. Like, we had photos every day with herds walking through. When putting up the cameras, a herd of 40 bulls split us and just ran around us. We're like, this is amazing. This is the coolest. Like, how can we not kill something here? Dave, I think the week before season started, every single camera went dead, and we didn't see anything the entire season long. And that was the same season I also fell and hurt my back.
By dead is not out of battery. It's no activity.
Absolutely no activity at all. 4 cameras, nothing. So it was a huge surprise. So that's my experience. But I'll tell you, I'm still learning. So I'd love to hear what you guys think.
Well, I don't even own a camera. I've never even used a camera myself, ever.
Yeah.
You know,
they're fun, but they're misleading.
Yeah, and the whole July thing, it depends on what type of elk you're scouting. I mean, if you're scouting elk that migrate, because of conditions and stuff like that, you have large migration areas, then that's a whole lot different than some of the areas that we hunt in New Mexico, where you have a lot of resident elk in a lot of those areas. So generally, you can locate feed areas, you can locate bedding areas, you can locate, travel routes that they like to use in those areas. And in doing that, you're already giving yourself a heads up. Like, we've been hunting Unit 53 for the last few years, and they had a horrible wind event that came through there, and it looked like, honestly, like a nuclear explosion just laid trees down. It was unbelievable. To get through that was unbelievable. But as the years have gone, the elk have discovered what routes they use. And what's so cool about an event like that, it's kind of like rock slides, man. So if you had a big side of a mountain, my voice sounds like I'm going through puberty or something here. This is funny. If you have a big side of a mountain, if you have the big side of a mountain and it's all rock slid on there, you're not going to be looking for elk in that rock slide, right? You know that's someplace that isn't going to happen there. And when you have areas that are just super blown down where elk are going, not, it's going to be extremely difficult for them to get through, you don't have to worry about looking in those areas, right? So where are you looking? Well, you're trying to find those areas where they can get through those types of wind event areas or blowdowns. You're looking for how they get around them to get to the feed that they want, the areas. Now, they might bed down next to some of those areas without going inside them. We even found some places where, you might have extreme blowdown. You have some areas where it's not so bad, and that became their alleyway in some of that. So when you can discover things like that, you start to be able to piece things together. Now, when I scout, Michael, for me, I really want to know the road and trail system, right? That is huge to me, because if I know that, I have so much more knowledge on how I can get to a place. I can actually check those as I get in, because when I get to season, my first day, 2 days is pretty much hunt scouting. It's pretty quick. It's pretty aggressive. I'm covering a lot of country. I'm looking on roads, looking for track that's going through places. I'm looking for trails that are getting hit. I'm looking for those types of things, and doing that so that I can start to piece together where the animals and what they're using. And then we can start going inside, on those places. And okay, if we have elk trails, you can take a look and man, Onyx has just changed the game, right? Because you can look and you can tell, all right, so where are they coming from, the probable bedding? Where is the probable feed that's happening in there? So that starts to happen. So when the guy says, is July too early? If you haven't hunted an area, man, it's a perfect chance to get in there and to actually just get yourself acquainted with the area. Where are the roads? Where are the water? Where are the trails? And when I'm saying trails, yes, human trails as well, but I'm actually looking for areas that are elk features, that are maybe saddles, that are pinch points, that are areas from one place to another where elk, it makes it easier than for the travel. Because remember this, that time of year, elk want to conserve as much energy as possible. So they want to use the path of least resistance, just like we do. Again, they are so much like us. So these are things to remember. And if you're seeing bulls on cams because you're putting them out in July, I wouldn't get excited about that, because that's not where they're going to be in September.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, Joe. I'll say, looking for animals, July, not what I would recommend, but what I can say is going out and just learning the landscape has done a lot for me. In fact, I went out this last season, went out with a buddy, and we were 7 hours of hiking, and you can't tell, you have this perfect line plotted on the topo and the satellite. It looks so great. And then you find out that's a 7-hour hike to go 4 miles because it's blowdown.
Right.
That happened to us last year. We got in there and we're like, this is the worst experience we've ever had. But we heard a chainsaw, and we followed the chainsaw. It turns out it was an old timer who built the secret path. And so now we can get back there in half an hour, when previously it took us 7 hours. Now that's a perfect scenario where you find somebody who's like making a trail for you.
Right.
But you learn the land, and you will be more effective in hunting season, regardless of whether or not you're finding animals, because they may or may not be the ones that'll be there in September.
Joe, we hunted our first time in Colorado, and we didn't know that, right? We made you and RC made some scouting trips and stuff like that, but just to the general areas where they camp, right? We didn't necessarily go into areas that we hunted. And I stayed up probably 2 of those nights, most all night, trying to figure out a way for me and RC to get to an area that we knew the elk were in, and it wasn't so hard to hike into, because some of it was pretty hard, right? And I ended up killing a bull in a place that took us half a day to get into. But if we wouldn't have got to know where we were at, it took me all day to get into it, right? So we spent a lot of time, analyzing the Onyx data and ended up finding a way easier route to get up there to those two wallows where we were at. And we can hunt there every day. Not a problem. But it took a lot of time to do that. So I think this.
And I can tell you, Luis and Manano, when they went, early on, they were actually just trying to identify at what elevation they were finding the elk.
10,600 feet.
Very specific.
Exactly.
642 feet to be exact.
We went back there 3 years later, same place. Same place. Same place, same house.
A quick side note on that, Joe, is like sometimes you would get cut with, you get caught inside of them blowouts one way or another. They will suck you in, and then you'll find yourself trying to navigate through it and taking hours to get out of it for some reason. But it was amazing to see sometimes there was elk sign within those blowdowns. And you're like, how in the world are they capable of getting through this, and they can.
Yeah. They live there, dude. They find the routes, right?
Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah, they're not in a hurry.
Good question.
Yeah, real good question.
Well, guys, you know what time it is.
Shout out.
Shout out time.
Shout out.
New to our show, it's just a few cities with the most listeners topping our charts this week, Joe.
Yeah, but look, man, Gil, I know, dude, and I apologize to people out there. I know we usually find those cities we haven't talked about. That's kind of how we do the shout outs, man. You wouldn't believe the list of cities that we've already given shout outs in the last 4 years. It's amazing. Yeah, it's crazy. I just looked at the heat map just from this last month of the different cities and the listeners. First of all you guys out there that listen, thank you. It's amazing. When I look at where, all those dots are filling up all the way across the United States, it just makes me shake my head. But, and we are going to definitely get back to you guys next time. But today, what I want to do today is I want to thank our top 5 listening cities because, man, you guys are always rocking it, and it's time to give y'all a nod, man. So these are the top 5 since this last time, and, man, these guys are always up in the top all the time, and it was really cool to see our own 505 in the top 5. In fact, 5th on the list, the 505, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Ooh. So proud of our gente, man. Thank you for listening. 4th, and I don't know, Gil, man. I don't know. We're Texas, just huge.
Hey, man, Big D showing out.
Big D, Dallas, Texas in the 4th position. 3rd position, up there in Utah, Salt Lake City, man. They're always up there in the tops, man.
There we go.
Yep. And the second of the big ones that listen, the other Big D, Denver, Colorado. And I'll tell you this, man. Hey, Dallas, I'm throwing the gauntlet down. Denver always is above Dallas in the listenings, man.
Too cool.
Huh?
That's too cool.
Yeah, I want to see some. And this week's number 1, drum roll, please. And this is amazing. I couldn't believe this, man. Great place to fish, great community. Did not expect this, and the amount of listenings that are coming from here. Salida, Colorado, you guys.
Wow.
Joe, please.
What?
Don't ever say Salida again.
What? Why, bro?
Just
That's how we say it here, man.
It's wrong.
Salida.
is wrong. Salida means exit.
But in Colorado,
No, please don't. It's a Spanish word. Don't say salida. It sounds like saliva, man.
That's not how Colorado towns work, Luis.
It's like,
we say them however we want.
You guys, that's wrong.
You're not wrong.
Blasphemous.
That's yeah.
no,
This is a point.
and I'm sorry we offended the Latin,
Culture,
group, right?
yeah.
But Salida.
Yeah.
In Colorado, it is Salida. I'll tell you that. Being a resident
Absolutely.
here. Yeah.
Well, Amarillo, come on, y'all.
Yeah. Amarillo. Hey, Joe, do you mind if I interject real quick on shout outs, man?
Yeah.
I often get emails about people asking for having questions about arrows and stuff like that, man. And I want to give a shout out to Mr. Jess Nail. He said, "Hey, Louise, just want to say love the Elk Bros podcast and also the base camp. I learn something every time I listen and just enjoy the conversation you guys have. So much good information for a novice and experienced elk hunter. So thank you for that, man, Jess. I appreciate it. Jess it writes to us from, and I'm going to butcher this one. So see how quickly karma works.
You don't want to be no novice.
Yeah,
Definitely not a novice.
Tonganoxie,
Tonganoxie?
Kansas.
Never heard of it.
It's spelled TONGANOXIE.
Gilbert, have you ever been there?
Right?
No, I don't believe I've been to Tonganoxie.
What?
Yeah.
Tonganoxie.
So yeah, thank you, Jess, man. I'll be getting back to you here shortly, man. I appreciate you your feedback and reaching out, man, asking for questions. Always welcome. I encourage everybody to do that. So
All right, man. So let's get started. It is elk camp story time with the bros and Michael. We're going to just we're just going to do this round table style. We're going to jump in just like we're at elk camp, right around the campfire. In fact, I don't know if you noticed, but I think Michael actually has a campfire in his house there.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's
a little
cool.
LED light there. Yeah.
don't try that at home, kids.
Either that or he's got cops outside the window, one or the other.
Well, I'll kick off the storytelling if you guys don't mind, and I'll start one with maybe just a quick story about kind of where I started with my podcast,
And then we'll go to RC after you, man. Go ahead, bro.
Perfect. And then I'll tell you, and you guys can choose whether I tell you a funny turkey story or the first elk I killed story. You guys can pick. But as far as my podcast, I'm a newer hunter. I think, Joe, you know that. I've only been doing this for about a decade now. No one in my family does it. I just picked it up and I fell in love with it. And one day I was driving from Texas to Colorado and I was tired of hearing podcasts. No offense, but I was tired of hearing podcasts that are like how to, right? and everyone loves that stuff. I've probably listened to thousands of hours of that, but I just wanted to hear a fun story. And every podcast has a little bit of that. And I loved the banter of what you guys have, kind of that elk camp thing. And so I want to thank you guys for kind of inspiring me. Elk Shape also inspired me, if you guys know that. Yep. And then Chris Rowe, if you know him, I was very specifically listening to 10 hours of Why Turkeys Gobble by Chris Rowe that I was like, I can't do it anymore. But I started the podcast and the idea was basically like, I just want to hear great stories. I want to hear them every day. And that's what my podcast is. The new hunter every week telling their favorite stories, whether it's because they were full draw on a bull and their bowels released themselves or because their father passed away and it was a very sentimental story. So the last time they ever hunted with their father or their grandfather or whatever it is. I've had lots of grown men in tears just telling the thing that's the most important to them. So it's been really fun. I've been at it for 3 years. I encourage everyone to check it out. But that being said, do you boys want to hear a pretty funny Texas turkey story or the first time I ever killed an elk, which was actually last year?
I would say start with a funny story, man.
Well, I'm only going to give you one. But just because I don't want to take all night.
We want both.
All right. Well, we'll start with the turkey story. So I'm hunting in New Braunfels, Texas. I know several of you are probably familiar with that, and I have a buddy, and he on Facebook. It was just a Facebook group. Hey, I don't hunt. Does anyone want to teach me? And I'm like, yeah, I'll teach you. I take this guy out hog hunting one time, and we hit it off. We decided we're going to be friends. He works in construction industry, and he's like, hey, we got a job site that's right on this river. There are turkeys everywhere. Do you want to go hunt this? Can you show me how to hunt turkeys? I'm like, absolutely, man. Let's go hunt turkeys. He's like, there are so many turkeys, you'll love it. And I'm like, give me the address. I'll show up your work site, and let's go down and do it. So he gives me the address, and I go there, and I'm sitting there at the gate the morning of that we're going to go hunt some turkeys. And I get a call from him, and he's like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm sitting at the address you gave me. He's like, I'm lost. And I'm like, what do you mean you're lost? This is your job. Like, I'm at your place of work, which kind of sets the tone for the whole story, right? So I'm sitting there, and I'm locked out. I can't get in until he gets there, but he eventually shows up. We pull into the construction site, and there are, more turkeys than I've ever heard in my life. Every direction, gobbles going off. It's all private land in Texas, so like no one has access to anywhere near here. And so there are just, it feels like thousands of turkeys. It's like the most impressive I've ever been, just opening my car door, just turkeys going off. But that being said, it's a little late to be getting started if they're already gobbling like crazy, right? Either way, jump out of the car, grab my decoys, grab my little blind, which is just like one of those blinds that's, 2 feet tall, about 8 feet long, piece of cloth, kind of something you just kind of sit behind.
Right.
So there's a deer feeder. So we run over the deer feeder knowing the turkeys probably will come to that at some point. I set up my decoys, and we set up the little blind. Nothing. Got my slate call. Nothing. Like literally nothing. We're sitting there. The sun comes up. Birds get quiet. And I'm like, well, that was the most anticlimactic thing I've ever experienced in my life. Like, I could not believe I've got my bow. He's got a shotgun. We're like, what just happened? Like, how is that possible? So we get up. It's so late that we're like, the birds are probably all somewhere else. Let's just walk around the property, check out what we see, and then get out of here. So we walk around. Nothing happens. We walk back to our trucks, and another truck comes in. Mind you, this is basically a big rectangle. On the top left end of the rectangle, you come in, you drive down the side of the property. About halfway, you cut into the middle, and we're on the right side of the property where we're parking. So we're sitting there at the cars eating lunch, and this truck rolls up with like five workers, 4 Mexican guys, and like the boss, I would guess. I'm not really sure, but they go, hey, there's a bunch of turkeys over there. You guys turkey hunting? We're like, yeah, we're turkey hunting, but those are just our decoys. He's like, no, there's turkeys over there. We're like, what? You stop. Like, no way. We've been sitting there all morning. There's no way there are turkeys sitting at our decoys. We turn the corner, walk around the big silo, and by God, there's 3 toms right in the middle of our decoys. We've been sitting there for probably 4 hours. And we're like, that's absolutely insane. And I'm like, okay. They drove right by, within 15 feet. So I'm like, here's the plan to my buddy. I'm like, here's the plan. I'm going to sit on the back of the truck with my bow. You drive. They didn't booger. they didn't booger when they drove by, so they won't booger when we drive by, right? So I'm like, just pull up right next to them, stop, and I'll shoot one. It'll be great. Like, perfect plan.
The truck blind.
Right? So we start driving, and he goes, and I'm like, all right, here we come. I can see the birds. Arrow knocked. Got my release on, ready to go. I shoot lefty, so it's like it's perfect for me. It's like it couldn't be a better shot. I'm just waiting for him to stop. And he just keeps going. And he drives right by. And I'm like, what is going on? Where are we going? Like, and I just watch these 3 turkeys just get farther and farther away. He pulls behind a berm and goes, okay, let's go get him. And I'm like, we just talked about our plan. Like, I could have killed all of those turkeys if you had just stopped. All you had to do was stop the truck. He's like, oh. And so obviously I'm setting the stage for like who my friend is. He's not the brightest crayon in the box. Either way,
but he wasn't in the back of the truck. I just want to say, right?
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. We were going 2 miles an hour, but so when that happens, the other guys, the turkeys slowly cross the street, the like dirt road that's on this property, over into this thick oak brush. And that other truck drives in 100 miles an hour, parks, and all 5 of these guys get out of the truck and run after the turkeys. And I'm like, what are they doing? Like, just 5 guys into the woods chasing these turkeys. I'm like, none of them have a shotgun, none of them have a weapon. And I'm like, well, I guess we're gonna go follow these guys. Like, I don't know what else we're gonna do. So we go into the woods following these guys. Mind you, we never see any of them again. They just left.
Vanished.
Like vanished, completely vanished. So we're in there with the slate call calling. We're hearing turkeys. We're not hearing these guys. I don't know what happened, but I'm like, all right, let's go back. I'm going to pick up my stuff and we're going to get out of here. I was like, I got to go. The wife wants me. And so we basically go back to where the blind is and the decoys. And I'm like, you know what? I always do this right before. And it's actually worked out for me several times. I take my little slate call out, and a gobble rips off right where we were parked originally. I'm like, this is the most insane thing I've ever seen in my life. So we dive behind the little blind, and I'm like, okay, here's the deal. I've never shot my bow at an animal before. So like if I miss, I'm like, have your shotgun ready. And I'm like, but I need you to call it in. So I call it halfway, and then I hand the slate call over, and I've taught him how. So he's calling, and that bird comes in on a line, probably 300 yards, right to the decoys. He gets his head behind like the small little arm of the feeder. I pull back, my arrow falls off the nock. So I've just got a dangling arrow on my rest. And I'm like, oh my God. And so the bird is over there, and I look at my buddy, and he's just zoned in on this bird. And I'm just trying to get his attention because I can't draw again because the bird's head is out. So eventually he realizes what's going on, and he lays down, belly crawls like to 6 feet over to me because it's COVID. It's 2020. We didn't know. We're like, oh, sit 6 feet away. That's what we're supposed to do. So he crawls over to me, grabs my arrow, puts it back right on my string. And I'm like, sweet. He doesn't take his hand off. And I'm like, get your hand off of my arrow, man. And I'm like, psst, psst. Like I'm just trying to get his attention and be like, come on, man, like let go of my arrow because I will break your fingers. He finally realizes what's going on. Let's go. That bird's still sitting there at about 15 yards, and I let her rip. I won't say it was a good shot, but it hit it right in the neck. Basically took the head off. That was not the intended shot. I was aiming body, but the bird went down immediately, and there we go. I've got my first archery kill ever. So that's one of my favorite stories because it's just like everything that could have gone wrong possibly did, but somehow it still worked out for me. So that's one of my favorite.
He's had that issue with a knock before.
Actually, that's a story I'm going to tell. So.
Oh, is it?
Do you want me to go next?
Yeah, that's a good segue, man. Because
perfect.
Okay, so first of all, when Joe and I were hunting, after a couple of days, if we didn't really see a lot of sign, we'd split up and go different ways. So on this particular morning, I got up and waited till about sunrise because I was ready to go out in the dark, and I thought I might get lost on the roads. So I took the four-wheeler out for a half-hour drive. My destination was a pond in a plateau area that's surrounded by trees. So, I drove to an area where I was going to park and walk to it. So the first thing I do was kick my leg over, getting off the four-wheeler, and I immediately get a cramp. So I fall to the ground, and I'm kind of writhing in pain there for a few minutes till my muscles relax. So I didn't know at that time that was going to foreshadow the day I was going to have. But anyway,
too many drinks the night before, I think, maybe.
Yeah. So anyway, I start walking down this hill, and it's a pretty good arroyo like this. And when I get to the bottom of it, I see some tracks going down this game trail. So I said, well, I can maybe make it a shortcut, go that way, and then cut up and go up on top of the plateau and find that lake and maybe catch the elk going to their beds. So I followed that trail for a while. Then it opens up into a U-shaped canyon. And it kind of reminded me of a story on one of Louis L'Amour's books. It's a beautiful little box canyon that just goes on for a while. The grass is about up to my knees. There's a little creek. I don't know if you call it a creek or a stream. It's only about that wide, but it goes right down the middle of it. The grass is almost up to my knees, but on the sides, it goes straight up. So there's no way to climb it. And it rivals 53 because if you want to climb one of the sides where I was at when I first started, I'd have to go on my hands and knees, and that wasn't going to happen. So I just walked down a little bit further, and I got to a point where I could see up ahead that the sides of the canyon were coming down at a gentler slope. And I said, there's my opportunity to get up on top and check things out. So I got to an area where I could see some, where the dirt had been kicked up and stuff. So I figured, well, that's the place right there. That's the trail. That's the trail the elk are going up and down. Because when I was walking down, I saw several beds on the grass. I saw some track. I saw some droppings. So I knew it was a place that the elk frequent. And like Joe said previously, they take the path of least resistance. So I knew it was going to be an easy trail, possibly. So when I got to the bottom of the trail, I could see it was really worn. The cattle probably used it too. And it was an incline that was pretty gentle. It started going this way for about 20 yards. Then it switched back and went this way for about 20 yards, then switched back. So it kept going like this to the top. And I said, perfect. I'm not even going to sweat getting to the top and then getting to my destination. So I took 2 steps and I saw some movement and I looked up and here comes a bull on that trail. So I'm like, oh, wow. And I was going to count the horns, but I learned a long time ago, never count, just look at the kill zone. So I got off the trail and I knocked an arrow. And when he made his first switchback, he was only going to be about 35. So I drew back, put my 30 pin a little high, and I heard a little clink.
Oh, no.
and I looked down and my arrow has come off the rest. And I go, what? And you know how hard it is to go back. So I go back and I pick up the arrow and I want to put it and I go, it doesn't have a knock. And I look at the string and the knock is on the string. So I got to take the knock off the string. I put the arrow down gently. I get another arrow out. I knock it. And by this time, he's hit the switchback and he's coming the other way. And the reason I'm able to draw is because the way it was set up, it was just perfect. It was like one of those duck shooting little things they have at the circus and carnivals and stuff like that. And there's trees where he has to go behind so I can draw back without ever being seen. So I draw back again, and now he's at 30. So I'm looking at 30 and I hear clink.
No.
And I look back, and then I got to draw back. And the same thing. So I pull out the third arrow, draw back, and I looked. I said, oh, no. And it clinked, it dropped again. So I put the arrow there, and now he's going to come back.
How many times is that already, Chap?
That's
3 times? That was the 3rd time?
Yeah, and he switches back again. And I pull the last arrow because I always told myself, all you need is 1 arrow. But anyway, I pull the last arrow and it's got a blunt at the end.
Oh, my God.
And I just put it down like that. And that elk was going to walk right there. And I went, boo! And he took off. So that was very similar to what you experienced. I had just bought those arrows. They were XX75s. And I had just put the nocks on, and I really hadn't tested them. I said, I'll save my good arrows for the hunt and just shoot my old arrows for practice. So, live and learn. So that was an adventure for sure.
The best lessons are self-taught. Right. I can't believe you got 4 arrows out with that bull not spooking. That's a great story.
I mean, it was like the perfect situation. And I knew the yardage, it wasn't crazy times.
So I just want everybody to know that we accomplished a world record today.
Yes. No, I know what that record is.
5 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Too cool.
I was actually thinking that at the beginning. I was like, this is already my favorite episode of the Elk Bros ever.
Absolutely.
Because Leroy has talked more than he's ever talked before.
Yes.
I got one to talk about on Mr. Chavez, the ninja there, to go with that what he just said. So I watched it happen in front of me. Same kind of scenario, man. I mean, and he had just watched me kill the biggest bull I killed. And I think we called in 7 bulls that morning, and I killed a really big bull, and we didn't even know he was dead yet. I knew he fell over and we could hear him gurgling. And about that time, I call in another really big 6x6 for Chav at I don't know, 25, 28 yards. He draws, and he had drawn on a cow and let down on it because we had the bull coming in. And he drawn on a cow and let down on it. And what we didn't look at is when he let down, his knot pinched forward on the string. So when he drew back the next time on the bull, the knock was not on the arrow, right? It just barely slipped off. So when the bull standing there at 25 yards, like, give it to me, right? I mean, broadside, and he shoots that thing, and it sounds like a 22 going on. And man, and the arrow just goes right underneath, right in front of the bull. And he looks down at the arrow, and he looks over there at us, and he looks back down at the arrow, and he looks back at Chav, and I look at Chav, and the string, everything's blown up on the bow. And I'm like, oh my gosh, man. And to make matters worse, we called him back like 3 times, you know. And we just kept messing with him. I'm thinking, well, maybe we'll get his bow put back together. And we got the string back on, but we didn't have the cable guide. And that cable guide
broke off.
The cable guide broke off. So when he draws back the next time, and to shoot the same bull now, when he draws back the next time, he goes out of the arrow when he sends it because there's no cable guide, right? So, yeah, man, I watched that unfold. It's just horrible. But man, what a day we had calling in bulls.
Yeah, it was fun.
That's a great story.
Well, Chavez had we're riding on the 4-wheeler, and somehow the branch of an oak brush, and he's carrying his bow with him, and the branch goes in, catches right between the axle and the string as it pulls, and next thing you know, wham! It just rolls that cable right off the axle and just blows it up. So, we're up at the top of the mountains. We're on a hunt. We don't have anything, and you're like, well, I've seen how bow presses work, so we just got us inside of an oak brush grove where there's a bunch of them growing. And the way our oak brush, the taller oak brush that goes up about 8-10 feet, that's real close together, all the trunks are about that big around and stuff. So we just took a come along and put it on one and got his bow and put it between a couple of them that were there and just started cranking on the handle and actually made a bow press out of the oak brush grove and got his bow fixed so he could hunt again. Always Chav, man. Always. Stories like that is too much. RC Knox. I want to hear RC have a 5-minute record, man. You got to unmute yourself.
While we're waiting for an unmute, Gil tells us a story on my podcast, episode 1, where RC, first off, he does a great RC impression, and a great Carl Gamich impression. Thank you, Gil, for that. But you tell the story about when the bull gets to 2 yards from you, and RC yells, "What are you gonna do? Let it bleep us?"
Yeah, keep
it family friendly.
You're gonna
Do something.
You gonna let him F us or what? He says, do something.
Oh my God, that is. I think about that story all the time. So I'm excited to hear your story, RC, because obviously you've got some character here.
Oh well, I could keep you entertained all night. I could, but I think I'll tell the one on Sean and the spike. But we're in 48 and we're hunting up there, and I do a little bit of cow calling, and we're kind of up on a little ridge, and if you look down, there's a little old opening, and it's oak brush, and it's real thick, and just it's real scattered openings, and so I'm not carrying a bow. I'm actually guiding, so it's just Sean, and so I do a little cow calling, and here comes a spike. Comes walking through this little opening down below us, and I'm going, yeah, look there, and he's like, yeah, okay. So anyway, he takes and he drills him at probably 25, 30 yards. It's a good shot, but it's so thick that I'm going to have to fight the oak brush just to try to get down to where the animal was. And so I told him, I said, you stay right here. I'm going to go down and see if I can find the arrow or blood or something to where we know we got a good shot or what's going to go on, right? So I get down there, finally get down there, and I look back up, and he's there, and he's pointing to me to the left, and so I go a little bit to the left, and I'm kind of going looking, and sure enough, I find blood. Man, I'm all pumped. So I tell him, come on down, so I wait for him, and he's coming down. So I'm in doghound mode. I'm looking for blood, man, and I'm got my nose on the ground, and I'm just going like this, and he's right behind me, and he goes, bear. And I said, yeah, we got lots of blood. He goes, no, bear. And I go, and I look up, and there's this great big bear, and he's on the blood trail, standing straight up looking at us. And it was so funny because we both hit each other at the same time and ran the opposite direction of this bear. Just took off, and we're running side by side. And I went, oh, wait a minute. Don't you have a bear license? And he goes, yeah. And it was so funny because it was like this bear standing there like, and we turned around and like, we got a bear license, and this bear goes, oh shit.
That's amazing.
Yeah. We had lots of different adventures with him shooting out of a blind, that story.
How far did you run the opposite direction before you realized you had a bear tag to turn around and actually you should shoot that thing?
Probably 5 steps, 10, I don't know, 5 or 10 steps. I mean, we were trying to outrun each other because, the damn bear's going to eat one of us. Like, all of a sudden I went, oh, wait a minute, don't you have a bear license? And he was like, yeah. And what was the funniest part was when we stopped and turned around, that bear was like, oh no, because he didn't have any fear when we were close to him. But when we got right, when we stopped, he took off. He's like, no, I don't want no part of these guys.
I assume because you said you were just on the blood trail. I assume you guys found that spike, packed it out.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We went back in ready for the bear, and hell, he was, I don't know that the bear might have actually been right there on it because it wasn't probably 10, 15 yards from where that bear was, and that spike was on the ground. So
Michael Gilbert likes bears. He really likes them. He likes to find them in the woods.
Negative.
Brown bears, teddy bears, all the bears.
Negative, bro. Not. Me and Bears got a kind of a pact. Me and Chav got real nose to nose with a giant one on one of my kills. I thought I left my hat at the kill site, and I think he ate it because he was pissed off. And the hat was not there, but the bear was. And when Chav and I got there, we kind of walked around this little corner, and I don't think he and I even thought about there being a bear there, but I promise you from now on, I'm checking from half a mile away when I walk up to one, because when we walked through there, this big, giant boar bear was walking in at the same time. And I don't know, Chav, how far do you think he was from us when we discovered him?
Oh, gosh. I'd say easily within 75, 50 yards. Pretty close.
Yeah, and he just kept coming, and coming, and I'm like, oh my! And then he got angry and pumped his jaws at us and closed the distance really fast and bluff charged us. Well, I know better not to run, and I got angry. I didn't have anything but a grunt tube with me and a pocket knife. But I knew wasn't going, bitch style for sure. If he's eating me, he's gonna eat all of me. And I got kind of angry. And Chav, I looked over at Chav, and Chav don't cuss, man. I'm telling you, I him say one cuss word in my life, and he starts going, hey, man, throwing his hands way up in the air, and he looks over at me. He goes, God damn it! He starts walking around, and I'm like, oh my God, he just cussed. This is a bad deal. And that bear got up on the fours, and I'm like, this is it. This is the moment of truth, man. And he turned away from us and took off running. And I turned and looked, Chad was going the other direction. And I'm like, I don't run, man. I got like 4-wheel drive, dude. But I promise you, my ass was running then after that bear ran the other direction. And I told Chav, I said, you know what? That old bear, maybe he was full of old elk meat and guts and stuff like that. But I said, I don't know if that's my spirit animal or what, dude. But here's the deal. He gave me a pass here in New Mexico. So all New Mexican bears and really U.S. bears get a pass from Big O. I'm not killing one. Now, if I go to Canada, Canadian bears might be on the hit list, but American bears get a pass. They gave me a pass. So, I try to stay clear of them, man, but I've had some really close encounters with them elk hunting, and generally they've given me a pass, and they didn't have to. That one for sure didn't, because he was pissed that we were there by his kill site, It was not, I'll never forget the sound of those jaws popping together and everything. When you're in the presence of something that can and will eat you, it is an humbling experience,
Yeah.
I've never hunted in Africa, but being around an African lion or a pride of lion, I said I've never been I have been in Africa, but I haven't hunted there. We actually safaried, just photo safaried, and they fed the lions when we went in there. And I asked the guy driving the Jeep, I said, hey man, y'all got any kind of weapons in here? Oh no, we don't allow weapons inside the concession. I looked at him and I went, we're driving through a private weapons and we ain't got no weapon in here? He goes, oh no. He goes, they won't go crazy. We just fed them. I said, I ain't worried about them going crazy. I'm worried about them going lying. That's what they do is shit. They eat, Big O's a big target, and I'm with another guy named Mike Albertson, a real close friend of mine. He's 6'9", big old boy, man. We're like rib eating steaks, So I said, man, I'm not worried about them going crazy. I'm worried about them going lying. And he goes, no, we fed them really good. But when you're in the presence of something that can eat you, it's awfully humbling, how these guys hunt these brown bears and stuff like that and get up close and personal with them and shoot them with a bow, man. It takes a special individual to want to be that close to death, because they do it for a living.
Yeah,
I mean, they don't miss.
I've had a few on my podcast, a few brown bear stories. Every single one of them, hair on the back of my neck is straight up. They're always terrifying. One gentleman, his dad and him got jumped in Alaska, like 100 miles from anything, and while shooting the bear as they were defending themselves, he shot himself in the leg. It was just a crazy story.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just absolutely crazy. I think they shot the bear 20 times before it fell on top of him, and his dad had to get the bear off, and one of the rounds went through his own leg. So.
Yeah, see, I'm out, man. I'm out.
Right.
I'm here to test my look. I've faced death before and had firefights and all this other stuff, brother. I'm tempting fate. When you stand in front of a freight train, bro, the freight train's going to win sooner or later, right? So I'm not standing in line for some brown bear to want to eat me, dude. That's just part of what they do. You can't fault them. That's what they do. I'm not getting in line for that. So all good on them bear hunters. Congratulations.
It's too much, dude. You ought to see him around a snake too, man. It's hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with all snakes that are not poisonous. I handle them too well, but man, if it's poisonous, it's going to meet its maker.
Luis, man, what you got, bro?
I don't know what story y'all want me to tell, man. Anyone that come to mind?
They're your stories. How can they come to our mind?
Isn't that a funny question? I get that every single time on my podcast. I'm like, all right, well, what do you got? And they're like, well, what do you want to hear? And I'm like, I don't know you.
Tell them the story of your first bow kill, brother.
Here's one. You've told this on my podcast, Luis, which is when you and Manano first met and like you were introduced to each other, and the first time I think he had never killed anything, or is that right? And you were the professional hunter according to
to our friends in common.
Yes, to the friends in common. You were the professional hunter.
Yeah,
I think that's a great story. I don't know if you guys have heard that story, but I listened to that actually like yesterday, just to make sure I was caught up, and it cracks me up. And it's probably not as good without Manano like giving his 2 cents, but I'd love to hear it just one-sided.
No, yeah, it was he never actually killed anything, and that weekend I showed up and just as we were leaving, I had never killed anything with my bow either, and some hogs happened to come across, and he shot one, and I found it. So all his friends that knew that he had been hunting for a long time, they were like, yeah, we all know that Luis killed it, and he's just letting you take credit for it, So that was a cool experience there. But yeah, man, I think there's one that we haven't told here in a while, but man, as we were talking about bear, we were walking, it was Joe, Manano and I, we were walking through what we call the squeaky forest, and the squeaky forest.
And I just want to know, out of the three, who was leading the way?
Unfortunately you were, and
I'm just okay. Just keep moving on. I just want to know who the leader was at the time, man.
So, we were just kind of letting you gain experience. We, as we coach people, we sometimes let them take lead for a little bit. And the wind was not favorable because we had the wind in our faces. So we were very at your discretion, really. But the reason why we call it the squeaky forest is because, man, as the wind blows, those trees kind of move around, and as they rub, man, they just make sounds, right? And every time that happened, I would just like, wait, did you hear that? Did you hear that? We could have sworn those were, cow calls.
Yeah.
And so we're like, no, man, it's just the trees, right? Eventually we finally got it, but yeah, I kept hearing it for like half hour. And I remember that day, Joe saying, as we enter the woods, we had to come up like a big hill, and then finally we got into this woods, and Joe was like, man, these are the perfect conditions. We have the wind in our face, and we have the sun in our backs, and this is a good situation, right? So I'll never forget that. That was actually one of those memories that kind of stay in your head, right? And so we're walking through the forest, and Joe is in front, and I'm behind Joe, and then Manano's behind, and Manano's like, there's an elk. And I turn around and I look at Manano, and then I looked up, and I'm like, holy crap. Yeah, there's an elk. I'm like, Joe. And Joe can't hear worth of crap, man. And we're like, Joe. And he's like, he's just kind of just stumbling through the woods, trying to throw something at him.
Going on. Joe don't care.
Yeah, he was just kind of going. I think I had to throw something at him, and he stopped. It's like, what? I was like, there's an elk over there. So he turns, and then he looks, and he sees the elk, and he turns around. And he goes, oh yeah, and he gives that face, right? And we're like, and so he goes to he turns around, and he sees the elk is kind of just coming, right? And Joe had been calling and stuff like that as we were walking through the woods.
And the trees were calling. So
the trees were calling. and then the elk is just kind of just calm walk, right? And kind of diagonally towards us. And then Joe is like, he assesses the situation and he goes, and all I see is his hand behind his back, just kind of telling me to stop, like just hold off. And then he, I wait, and then the elk keeps coming, and Joe goes and turns his hat around right before it. Now he was shooting his instinctive recurve, semi-recurve bow that he used to have, and he just turns the hat around. I'm like, oh boy, something's gonna die, so he turns the hat around, he gets that assassin look, man, and then the elk keeps coming, he just draws, boom, and he shoots, right? All hell breaks loose, the elk just turns around. Like, the elk was slightly quartering towards, if I remember correctly, and I think Joe was kind of concerned about the shot placement, and I'm like, man, I saw blood, and he's like, man, I don't know. And I was like, so we kind of regrouped and we talked about it. I was like, okay, what are we
It was only like
do?
a 12-yard shot or something.
Yeah, it was pretty close. He was pretty close. And we're like, well, so we decided, it was like, you know what, man, let's just give it time. Let's just sit down here and wait and give it a little bit of time, and see what happens. So we kind of went where the arrow was. I think we found part of your arrow, and there was decent blood. So we're like, let's just sit here. Let's have something to eat and just like give it some time, right? So, we as we found a good spot where we were going to sit down, I vividly remember this moment as if it was yesterday, because I was taking my backpack off, and I had my bow in my left hand, and I was taking my backpack off, and I'm putting my backpack on the floor. And as I'm putting my backpack on the floor and look up, I see this just big black ball coming through the woods, like just slowly pacing, kind of the same way that elk was, just, walking along, man. And I'm like, bear. And Joey's like, what? Obviously he didn't hear me. And then Manano's bear. And I'm like, bear. And Joey's like, bear? It's like, yeah. And he's like, where? There. So everything was rhyming, man. Bear.
That's so funny, man. They're always busting on me.
Yeah. Bear. Where? There. And Joe is like, dude, at that time I remember I had like just laid the backpack on the floor, and I was ready, like drawing and at full draw, because he was coming close. And I'm like, I didn't even have a time to range him, but I knew that if he just walked over a log, that log was within 20 yards. So I was like, and he's like, get ready. And I'm already am. So Joe turns around and he sees me at full draw standing up, and he just kind of gets on his knees and he takes the rangefinder. And as soon as it goes over the log, man, I remember I heard I think you said 19 or 17, and you didn't even finish saying the yardage number. Oof. I shot, right? And he was also slightly quartering towards, man. And I remember when I saw the bear and I was putting the backpack on the floor, Joe was also telling Manano to get ready, and Manano had the bow strapped to his backpack. And so he's turning around and trying to get the backpack off to try to get the bow out and stuff like that. So after the shot, the bear just turns around and starts running, right? Joe starts cow calling after the bear runs. And I'm like, what are you doing? It's like cow calling the bear, right? And so he starts cow calling, the bear runs, and he kind of slows down. And then he kind of stops and looks our way and starts walking our way. And I'm like, what the heck? So the bear just starts coming our way straight, frontal, just walking. And then Manano is now at full draw. And then Manano takes the shot. And, the bear takes the shot, the second shot, turns around and kind of runs away. And we're like,
they X'd him just like
we X'd him. And we're like, what the heck just happened? We're like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. We just shot an elk and a bear within 10, 15 minutes. Okay. And so,
if that, bro, I mean, we were just barely waiting on the elk. And I'm telling you that bear came in because of the cow calls. That bear was hunting that cow call.
Yeah. And so we have, we're like, oh my, when we had bear tags, Manano and I. So we're like, what the heck? So we just kind of decided, I was like, just to sit down and let it sink in and try to, Manano's like, when you shot the bear, when the bear went running that way, I saw something kind of running from the left-hand side to the right-hand side.
He jumped my elk.
And I think that's the elk, and none of us saw it, he has a keen ability to see things in the woods, right? So we're like, holy crap. Well, I guess we'll just go check here, wait for a little bit. As we were waiting, a couple more spikes came in, right, Joe?
Yep.
And they were just kind of curious looking at us. It was just unbelievable. We were surrounded by animals all of a sudden. And we just messed with them for a little bit. And eventually, Joe kind of went towards Manano, set the elk head gun, and Joe found the elk over there. And then, we went back and started looking for the bear. But that bear, man, he went a long ways.
Probably being extra like that? Oh,
yeah.
Man.
He was, so my shot kind of went like close to the front shoulder and came out around the guts, and Manano's kind of scratched his eye on the left-hand side and went through between the shoulder blade and the neck, and it came out like further out. And so, I mean, and that bear probably went over 200 yards with that in there. And then there was a spot where we found it. And this is a great part of the story, right? So we're all like kind of scattered looking. It took us a while to find him. I found a spot to where you could see that there was kind of blood, but there was a log that was being bitten and stuff like that, almost as if the bear was kind of like a raccoon, like it's fighting to kind of get the arrows out or something, and it was just tore up. So when I find that, I look up and I see this black mass underneath a little pine tree, and I'm like, oh crap, there's the bear. So right, I've never been that close to a bear before, so I'm a little scared. I was like, I go back and tell the guys, I was like, the bear's right there, man. It's underneath that pine tree, man. And I was like, oh, okay, well. And Joe was like, all right, guys, let's plan this out. I was like, I'm like, okay, so Luis, you and I, we're gonna go over there, have an arrow knocked and ready. So him and I, we both have an arrow knocked. Manano, you stay by here, just like kind of look at it and see what happens. If he goes running, take another shot at it, whatever. We're just trying to figure out how we're going to get close, right? So Joe and I are just like
a wounded bear, dude.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
I'm like, oh no, man. And you just don't walk. Elk, you're gonna walk up, tap it on the. That freaking wounded bear can turn on you like, and that's a scary situation.
Like a goose.
Yeah. Yes. So we're like just kind of going slow, and he's like, and Joe is looking at the bear, and he looks back at me just to see if I'm behind him, and we're just kind of but we're both scared, man. And we're like, what the heck? So
I'm taking the lead. I'm taking the team here, right?
Yeah. Then he grabs a little rock, right? And he grabs this little rock, and he's like, I'm just going to throw this rock to see what happens. Just get ready. So he grabs the rock and he throws it. Michael, are you right-handed or left-handed?
I am right-handed. Shoot lefty.
You're right. Have you tried throwing a rock with your left hand before? I'm sure.
Yeah.
It doesn't look very pretty, right? It's just not very elegant. It just comes out very feminine-like, and this is like, that's how that throw looked. And the rock didn't even make it to the bear. We were not but 20 yards from it. It just it was comical, man. That big mass was here, and that rock landed in front. It was like, boing, 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 boing. And it was like, I'm like, Joe, come on, man. What's up with this? So I grab another rock, I throw at it, and it's just like, it hits him. And he turns around and it's like, he's dead. And so we get close to it, we tap again. I mean, he was definitely dead. And man, we're just freaking celebrating. Now we had a situation, right? We had two big dead animals. And it was just the three of us scratching our heads and say, what are we going to do? Right. So We didn't have Onyx at that time.
No.
You found that road right below where that bear was.
Right.
With what did you have? You had like a little GPS. It was like
yeah, it was one of the old like Garmin's or something.
Garmin's. Yeah. So we found that road. Luckily, that road wasn't far from where the camp was, man. And so Joe went over there to get the cavalry, and in the meantime, Marano and I were
butchering. I mean, dude. So here's the other thing, right? These guys, when they show up to elk camp, these guys they're pig hunters, right?
Yeah.
And they were trying to help. Honestly, they were trying to help. They found my elk while I was trying to work everything out. So, we had found my elk, and then I left to go get the vehicle so we could get everything gathered up. Well, these guys carry these
machetes,
big friggin' steel knives. They're I've never seen anything like it. Look like it should be going on a shaft of a stick to be used as a spear or something like.
Crocodile Dundee. It's like you call that a knife. This is a knife.
But it's like it's like one piece of steel where the handle is like curled out of that steel to be the handle, like a bayonet style. And I mean, it starts at their hip and it comes down to their friggin' knee, right? And they pull out these things, man, like a machete, man. And they start and they said, well, we'll take care of your elk while you get there. And oh my God, man. I mean, they tried. Honestly, they tried, but I got back and that friggin' thing had been hacked and whacked, and I mean
nothing but fajita meat.
So unthankful, man. By the time he got back, he was so slow going to camp and coming back that by the time they got back, the bear was already gutted, and the elk,
half the
we
body
had
was
already
quartered. Removed.
Yeah, half of it was already quarter, and the
had
top.
to make hamburger meat, bro. We had to make hamburger meat. It was pathetic. I mean,
Next time I'm gonna go and get the boys. You stay behind and take care of all that. But yeah, man, we finally got back to camp, and then I had to skin the whole bear. And we got to work on that elk. But the end of that day, we were out, but happy as hippos, man. It was pretty cool. Very
yeah.
amazing.
It was quite the story, man.
Yeah, I don't think that's something that's difficult to replicate. You know what I mean? Just like a day like that.
You can go back. You can go to our Elk Bros store, the gear. If you go to just our Shopify store, and it has about us on there, and you'll see that photo that was taken, all of us with their bear. And I mean, I couldn't have been prouder of those guys. I was, the elk. I'm used to killing elk, man, but to see the pure joy and these guys after taking that bear. It was so cool. All of us were so pumped, and it really made for a great moment, Yeah,
we didn't have an elk tag. We decided we were coming to elk camp. I had a turkey tag, and the boys had a bear tag, and we ended up killing a turkey. My first Miriam killed a turkey, we killed a bear, and we killed an elk that trip. So It was cool.
Yeah, Gil ended up taking a turkey, man. It's so funny because Gil says, well, man, if I get a turkey tag, you think I can get me a turkey out? And sure enough, one just walked out there, and he put the Coupe de Gracie on it, so it was over with. That was a great hunt. I mean, that was one of our first hunts together, and it was pretty special. Really,
it was pretty cool. Yeah. So, no, I think
that's such a great story.
A good story to share.
I love it. I can't help but think, like, if you mess with the Venezuelan mafia, you get X'd. Like, that's just how it is. Out. Yeah.
Oh, man. And, those guys, man. So after I shoot mine, right, they're like arguing about the angle of the elk and what it was when it was standing. And I mean, and it's escalating, bro. I mean, it's like, no, dude, no, bro. And it's like escalating loud. I'm like,
like long and
Be
hardy.
quiet,
It was only escalating, Joe, because they wanted to make sure you could hear, so you could hear.
They want to make sure that every elk in the woods and line that was down went running somewhere. Yeah.
So look, we make a lot of fun of Joe not being able to hear, but
You don't need to.
we don't have to, man. It's straight up the real thing, you know. I can remember hunting with him long ago, and you know, I've been so blessed to have these guys in my corner the last 15 years, elk hunting. But it was, I don't know, maybe year 6 or 7. It was just after Carl Gamage passed, and Joe and I were hunting together, and we had a morning like no other. It was a beautiful morning. We had quite a bit of moonlight that night, and it was like the opening day, I believe, September 1. And we decided we'd check out on the west side of where we were hunting, and we turned the bike off and we start walking. And if Joe's in front of me, it's real hard for me to get his attention. Number one, he's probably like 40 yards in front of me, because when that dude's in high gear, he got to get his legs when his lungs warmed up, right? So, but I was trying to do my level best to stay with him, and we're easing through the dark timber, and it's what we call that gray light, but it's really a little bit darker than gray light. And we're going along, man. And I look out in front of us, and I see these images moving, and it's not aliens, man. I know it's not. There's something up ahead of us moving, you know. And I'm like, Joe, stop, Joe. And then he's not stopping. He's just marching right to him. And I'm like, Joe. Finally, man, I pick up, there's a stick right in front of me. I pick this stick up, and I throw it, and he's right in the back with it. And he stops, and he turns around. I'm like, Joe, like, what, bro? I'm like, bro, I think I see some elk in front of us. He motions to his.
I get a lot of abuse. You know, these guys throw rocks at me. They throw pine cones, sticks. You know, I'm not taking it anymore, man. I'm not taking it. You know?
He like motions to his back pocket in his backpack. He said, "Give me my binoculars, bro." So I unzip and hand him his binoculars, and man, he looks like this, and he goes, "Yeah, that's elk." Yeah, that's elk. He goes, "Close too." I'm like, yeah, dude, like right there. I mean, we literally walked into a herd of elk that were feeding on the side of this black timber, man, on the side of this ridge. And he's like, "Okay, bro, he goes, I'm going to call that lead bull in for you, and you're going to shoot him." I'm like, "No, man, we're hunting together." I said, so we're having a full argument in the middle of this herd of elk, right? I said, if the elk goes to the left, I'll shoot him. If the elk goes to the right, you shoot him. And he's like, no, bro. You know, we're here. I'm guiding you. I said, "Oh, bro, look, we're both going to be calling. The bull goes right, you kill him. The bull goes left, I kill him." He goes, "Okay, fine." He goes right into kill mode. And dude, that bull lifts his head up, man. It's a raghorn. He lifts his head up, dude, and here he comes. And there's a bigger bull behind him, like going nuts. He opens up. Like Tyrannosaurus Rex, right? And all of the cows now are looking in our direction. We are literally standing in the middle of a break road. We have no cover around us at all, right? And they got us pinned. I mean, we can't do anything. They got us pinned. As soon as Joe opened up with the cow call, they had us pinned. And here comes this bull like Gomer Pyle walking into the store. Like, this bull's fixing to die, man. This is his lucky day. We're fixing to rid himself of being cold and hungry ever again, right? And this bull decides, well, he's going to turn left. So he turns left. I said, "Take him, Joe." Joe draws. Bull stops at about 40 yards. Nothing but net, right? Bull's off. Joe's like, "Bro, call the big bull in for you. Get ready." So he starts calling, and then he drops off the ridge in front of me. And this bull gets to within, Joe, like 70, 80 yards, and he just hangs up in there with those cows. And I just cannot thread the very confident out to 75
Yeah,
to 80.
His cows were walking away, so he was going with
Yeah, his cows were walking away. Joe called him back, and we just couldn't get him going. And when Joe dropped off, he actually saw some other elk below us. So he comes and gets me after about 10 minutes of playing patty cake with that bull. And the bull just wasn't going to play ball. So he just comes to me and goes, come on. I said, well, your bull's up here. He goes, don't worry about that bull. He ain't going nowhere. We'll get him. So we bail off. And when we bail off, he goes right down there, and there's some elk standing in this timber down there. And we set up in the thick. We had the wind perfect, man. It was so cool. We had the wind perfect. Anyway, make a long story short, he hits the cow call a couple of times. This raghorn comes in. It might have been a spike, huh, Joe? It's either a spike or a raghorn. He comes running in there like he's Genghis Khan, and he's got a buddy with him, right? So we're like, I'm like, Joe, you sure you hit that bull? Oh, yeah, we got that bull. So that bull turns broadside, kind of quartering to me at 44 yards. And Joe says, shoot him for 40, man. And I'm like, definitely. I send it, man, and it hits like money. Bull stumbles about 35 yards, and his buddy's looking at him like, hey, man, what happened to you? And the bull just falls over with feet up, And I'm telling you right now, dude, I've played a lot of football. I don't know that I've ever been hit that hard in my life, dude. Joe hits me like dog piles me. And he's like, it's the coolest shit I've seen. He goes, I watched the arrow go right into him, man. It was great jubilation, and 2 minutes, 2 bulls down, man. It was crazy, dude, how it all jumped off. But phenomenal story, phenomenal. But it's true. Joe can't hear shit. So it's not, we're not picking on him, man. I promise you, can't hear jack shit. So we really, the dude's a crazy elk killer when he can't hear. He just gets them so close that they damn near run him over, So it's just a testament to what a freaking crackerjack elk caller this dude is. And I'm telling you, I don't know my brothers, but if I ever get a chance to go hunting with my brother Joe, man, something's gonna die. This dude he calls them in like nobody else, He's the very best I've ever seen, We're all pretty decent callers now, but I promise you, if you line them all up in camp and you get your pick, you're gonna go with Joe Julia. So phenomenal elk caller.
Thank you.
You can't hear for shit. You'll have to use your you can call him.
You need to put a shock collar on him, and I figure that's probably the best way to get his attention. Because he's going so fast too, stumbling through and just he's like a plowing through the woods, blah, 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 making all kinds of noise, right? And you're like
in a china cabinet, bro. Straight up,
man. And it's hard to catch up. He's going so fast that you're like, Joe, and you want to stop because obviously you're seeing something. And so you need to do completely the opposite. You got to sprint to get to Joe to make him to stop, so
got to tackle him.
It's counterproductive.
Productive, bro. Counterproductive.
I knew you were going to correct me. It's salida, not salida, bro.
What a novice mistake. Novice mistake.
Yes.
Well, out front of his English so fast, man. I'm proud of you, Luis.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you, man.
Oh, no. Don't be giving him that, man. He just saw so much crap and you helping him out.
I like how this has turned from hunting stories to the roast of Joe Julia.
Oh, my God. Dude, but that's all good, man. It's all good.
Like this, man. We're dogging on one another the whole time. We love one another, no doubt. Love one another, but at the end of the day, man, if we see a crack, we're getting after it, man. I promise.
Yeah, and it jumps, man. It just go from one to the other, and you just got to take it.
They keep me in stitches, but and then, what year was it, man? Oh, it was that same year we did an elk hunt with the Elk Bros, and I took Manano and Luis. I said, I know this, and we're in this unit 53, all this blowdown. I was like, I know, man, I know that there's going to be elk in the spot. The way I look at it and where all this stuff is, they're going to be here. So we had to go into this little small canyon, and we had to go up, a little ways on the other side to get into this area, and I mean, it's like friggin' trying to drag rocks to get them up there, man. These guys, and so we get all the way into this area, and sure enough, we call this bull in, man. And Luis is in perfect position. I get up back behind. This bull is just coming up to Luis. And I don't know, how far was that shot, Luis? 30, 35?
Are you talking about the spike?
No, the raghorn that came up over there in under Van Diest over there after we hiked all the way through the Beaver up onto the other side. So
the divine intervention shot.
Yeah, it was just a small rack.
Oh yeah. It was about 40 yards.
Yeah, so this bull comes up and stops broadside in front of Luis. He's, in a perfect position to shoot. When he shoots, the bull spins to turn away, and that doggone arrow just goes right in front of his chest like that. So we get the opportunity. We get over there. We get the opportunity to see the elk. We get the shot. Thank God he did not hit that. I mean, it was just like, it's like God helped us out and just turned that elk before he got there, because we didn't know the route out, that we were going to actually use if we killed that bull. We should have, in hindsight, we would have gone out the way we came in. But the way we ended up going out of there got very, very dangerous, right? But it wasn't that bad of a hike, right, to get in there. And we get back to camp, and these guys are like, I wanted to go back the next day, and they're like, no way, we ain't freaking going back there, man.
Negative.
It's obvious you hate our guts, Joe. It's obvious you hate us, because nobody would do something like that to somebody, to take somebody in some shithole like that, man. They were so mad. They were so mad. They were like, Beto, we're going with you. I know you're not going to go into some shithole like that.
Listen, that day is when we realized the true worth of the bow hitch.
Oh,
yes.
Absolutely.
So
Armando.
So he's not giving it justice to
and
how
it's your
dangerous.
first time using it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, our first time using it.
Yes. He's not giving it justice to how dangerous it actually was. This could have, like, if we were to have like any additional weight other than our packs and our bows already, like if we would have had an elk meat, or the antlers or anything like that, it would have been a life or death situation, man. I'm telling you, it was that steep and that dangerous to get out of that place.
It was getting dark.
And it was getting dark. And so, matter of fact, when we got to the boogie, it was already night time.
Buggy.
When we got to the what, bro?
The buggy.
No boogie monsters.
The Salida.
Oh, the boogie.
The Salida.
You need a tissue?
Yes, yes, the Salida.
Hey, got a boogie.
Hey, Michael, what's up, man? Are you on my side? What's the deal?
I'm on everybody's side.
I see how it is, man.
I'm on everybody's side.
Dang it! Such a rough crowd.
So I'm gonna give a little ode to somebody that is part of the Elk Bros, has been part of the Elk Bros, been part of our podcast. If you listen to our podcast, the introduction is done by a man, Mr. Hederman, Mr. Bob Hederman. And, Bob has passed since. Bob died of cancer some years back, and but he's still with us. He introduces us every time. We're not going to change that because it keeps Bob with us. But the first time I ever met Bob, he was my neighbor. He moved in next door to me, and after he moved in, he saw me shooting one day out there. You can hear the thump, thump, thump. I shoot a lot of arrows because I'm an instinctive shooter, so I shoot a lot. And he comes out and he starts asking me about it and everything like that, and gets really interested in wanting to do something with the hunting. And Bob kind of fashioned himself as an all about type guy. He can, he was in the music industry, and, he could videotape, and I had his daughter in my video class and stuff. And he's like, well, why don't I go with you on your hunt? And this is early, man. Again, this is pre everything. And, we had the actual tapes, the mini DVs that were inside the video cameras at that time. And Bob's like, I can go along and I can videotape the hunt and everything like this. And I was like, oh, that'd be cool, man. If you're wanting to do that, I think that'd be cool, So I went in and I got one of my Truth series, one of those from Primos and stuff, some of the DVDs, and I handed it to him, and I gave it to him so he could go watch it and see really wanted him to see camera angles and stuff like that. And so he watched it, and he comes over. I'm shooting arrows the next day, and he goes, I think I'd like to do that with y'all, man. He said, it don't seem too bad. So we go out, we find a meadow, I set up the camera, you call, and the animal comes in, and you kill it. And, seems pretty easy to me. I mean, that's how Bob thought how it was going to go, Well, I said, Bob, it don't happen like that, bud. I mean, only in the movies, So he ended up wanting to hunt as well, and he was going to videotape some, and then the next year he wanted to hunt with us. So he was going to go out that first year, and he was going to go out with another name that you'll hear with us sometimes, Larry Gill. Larry Gill was hunting with me. Bob came with us to film, and what's so cool about that particular year is, the guys say I'm a little bit kind of tight about things, but
kinda.
I had killed an antelope with my bow earlier in August that year, and then we're going into September, and Bob says, "Yeah, it's that easy." And Bob, trust me, it is not that easy. This stuff is hard. It's a grind. You got to hunt. You're going to be putting lots of hours just for a second of an opportunity, right? And he's like, okay, all right, and so we go out. Bob's with me, and we've got a bull that responds, and I go out and I start calling. Bull comes in. Bob is right behind me to videotape the whole thing, dude. So bull comes in, 15 yards. I drill him. He dies in, I don't know, seconds and dies off that. So I'm fairly young at this time. This is early. I think Larry Gill at that time might have been, 80. No, at that time, no, Larry was probably, I don't know, Chad, what would you say, in his early 60s or late 50s or something like that,
Probably early 60s.
Yeah, early 60s. Yeah. So what's so cool is I've got the animal there, and I'm talking about the hunt, doing all of this stuff, on the animal, explaining what I did, and there's Bob. He's got all of it, and so we go back to camp. And Bob's like, well, I thought you said this stuff was hard. Right. So I was like, dude, trust me, it hardly ever goes like that. Right. Well, the arrow I used on that elk was the same arrow I killed my antelope with. So now I got two animals with the same arrow. I always mark my arrows. I have my favorite arrows. And after I shot it, I spin it. It's good. Sharpen my broadhead, everything's good. And so we go on, and I'm trying to get Larry and Bob, I'm trying to get Larry to get an elk. So we're driving through this one area. I have all my tags. I got bear, deer, elk, and we're driving to this one area, and I'm driving, and Larry's behind me, and he hits me on the shoulder. I could hear real good at that time, but he just hit me on the shoulder, and he goes, "You just passed a deer." And I said, "So did he stay bedded when I passed him?" He goes, "Yeah, he just stayed right there." And I said, "How far in the trees?" He said, "About 20 yards. I said, "Good." So we were just over the hill. I said, "Okay, let's switch, Larry." So we switch up. I get behind, and what I told Larry, I said, "As we get close, I want you to slow down. I'm going to get off on the opposite side of the four-wheeler. You keep going." We do just like that. Larry comes through. I get off on the side. He keeps going. The buck is watching Larry drive off at 20 yards inside the trees. I shoot him. Next thing you know, we're packing a deer out now on we make a makeshift with a stick to carry the deer out and get him onto the buggy and then back to camp. And I use the same arrow that I killed the antelope with and that I killed the elk with, and I've killed a deer. And Bob is like, I thought you said this stuff was hard. That was the whole thing about that. Well, I still needed to get Larry. I wanted him to get a bull. So I knew of a great wallow that these elk were hitting. So I take Larry into this wallow. We get in before daylight. It's perfect, man, because you got the wallow down below. You're up on a little bit of a ledge with a big boulder in front that just kind of breaks you up and plenty of trees behind. A good tree for you to lay on, put the hat down, and go to sleep and wait for things to happen. So we get in position well before daylight. I've got my hat down. And Larry's there, and it's just getting ready to going to be gray light, right? It's getting ready to be prime time. And Larry goes, Joe. And I'm like, what, Larry? He's like, I got to go to the bathroom, man. I go, now? Dude, it's getting ready to happen, man. This is getting ready to be. So Larry commences, and I'm like, dude, if you're going to go, I want you going 200 yards down the drainage, so the scent's all carrying down. So he takes off and he goes down there. I sit back and I put my hat down. And as I'm in there, all of a sudden I hear rocks rolling. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man. I'm like, watch this bull. I bet he's a 7x7. Larry's down there doing the business and he's not here. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. So I heard the sound and I just stayed there for a little bit because it's just the gray light is happening really good right now. And it's starting to get a little bit towards shooting light. And I hear the noise again. And this time I look up, I tilt my hat up and I look up there and I can see something moving up in there.
How long ago was this, Joe?
What's that?
How long ago was this?
Oh, man.
1930, I think.
So you're probably talking 30 years, 20 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Okay.
Because you were hearing.
I used to hear excellent. So for all you people that so I grew up a redneck, shot a lot of guns, and we never knew about hearing protection as a kid. Yeah, I started losing it in my late 40s. So
and you're losing your voice today too. What's up with you, man?
I'm sick, man, and I'm still here.
So you look up and you see.
I see a bear. I can see the silhouette of a bear against the skyline as he's coming on the side. And I'm like, oh, man. And I've got my bear tag, no Larry, right? And I'm like, I ain't going to shoot that bear, man, unless that bear's a big bear. And now it's getting more and more light. The bear keeps coming down to drink from the wallow. And, dude, his belly is like dragging the ground. His ears look like this big right here. Just tiny, man. I mean, so I'm like, oh, he's huge. I mean, this bear is huge. So I'm like, well, I ain't going to shoot him, unless he gives me a good shot. So the bear comes down to the wallow, turns broadside and goes, shoot me right here. So I draw back, I pop him. He takes up that same hill that he just came down. I mean, he is just ripping it a new one, and he only gets about halfway up the hill, and I hear, and I'm like, he's dead. So I put my bow down, I get back, I put my hat back down over my eyes, and I go back to sleep, and all of a sudden I hear a little bit of a noise, and I look over to the side, and I can see a broadhead coming through the brush, and here's Larry. He's sneaking into me, and he goes, Joe, I think I heard something growl. No, I'm like, yeah, Larry, I just killed a bear, man. And he's like, no, seriously, I just heard it. Yeah, I'm telling you, dude, I just killed a bear. So Larry couldn't believe it, and the bear is actually behind me. Looks like a mini grizz, and this was the bear.
That's
amazing.
That's a Popignon, man.
He's a toad. At that age, I'm in my 30s, I'm in my prime, and I went to go try to roll that bear when I got to him, and I literally had to lay over his body and do an arm lock to try to pull him around. He was massive, and that bear was killed with the same arrow that killed an antelope, that killed they killed a deer, and then killed that bear, all in the same season, same arrow. So,
wow.
And the cool part of the story, Bob Hederman, that videoed all of that great footage, Bob actually turned the camera off when he thought he was turning it on. And turned it on when he thought he was turning it off, and we got a lot of great footage of the ground and my tennis shoes and stuff like that. Zero kill, zero commentary, nothing on that, man. So that was Bob Hederman's first hunt, man. So
and was Bob there? Like, he actually attempted to film the shot? He was behind you when you shot?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, we had stopped in the woods, and we had done a few commentations and stuff like that as we were on the hunt and everything. And I don't know if when that bull bugled and started coming in, I don't know if he got nervous and pushed or what, but he got everything in reverse, and we never got anything on it. So that's the story.
That's a great story.
Yeah. So
here's a question. Did Larry get an elk? Because that's what you were there for.
Actually, Larry did get an elk. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Larry, one time with us, got a last day bull that he had given up on getting anything, and we actually killed a bull in the last day, last hour of the hunt, man. And Larry didn't have anything with him, none of his knives, nothing. I'm like, you're hunting without all of your kill kit stuff? He said, honestly, Joe, I came and you were saying we were going to do something good and blah, blah, but I didn't believe it. So, yeah. So there we go, guys, man. What a cool night of stories.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part was how you guys beat up on each other. Like, that's what hunting camp is about. With my podcast, I do a lot of like me hearing stories from one person, but it's really fun to get an actual hunting camp together and you guys tell your stories and then, I mean, call bullshit on each other or make fun of each other when it's due. I love that. This was a lot of fun.
I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to do it, man. We love camp. We love bagging on one another, but at the end of the day, man, we truly enjoy what we're doing.
Yes, sir. Hey, Gil.
Yes, sir.
You know what to do, man. It's that time.
Absolutely. Guys, if you like what we're doing, please subscribe, rate, and review us. You have to go to Apple Podcast or iTunes to review, and be sure to include your name and where you're from to get in on our spin a winner wheel drawing. And you can check out more elk hunting content at ElkBros.com. Guys, we still have some tags available for Unit 53. We actually, Joe and I have been pushing those the last couple of months, and we still have a few tags available. So if
only firearm, that's it. No, everything else is sold. Yeah,
that's correct. Only rifle tags, and so if you need something, we do have our few hunts available left on our private land as well. So you guys are looking for something to come and hunt with us on the Chase or the Martinez, man, we'd love to have y'all. And just a reminder, if any of our listeners would like their questions answered on our show, just send your questions to Joe at ElkBros.com. And like we say down here in the Lone Star State, husbands kiss your wives, wives kiss your husbands, hug your babies, keep your broad head sharp and your powder dry. And we'll see you next week right here on Blue Collar Elk Hunting.
Yes, sir, man. Peace, everybody.
Stop.
Thank you, Mike.
That was
Thanks,
fun,
Mike.
gentlemen. Thank you, guys.
Where others fear is home to me. No boundaries for my soul. The pounding, the primal blood, driving hunger like no other, running through my veins. No man versus nature, only me versus me. A centuries old challenge, raging deep inside my soul. No anger, malice or evil, only a hunter and his prey. This is my life, country born and raised. When that whistle blows, I'm on the trail, pounding in my head. There's a will, there's a way, there's a way, there's a way. This is my life, I know it's my day, my life. Don't think you know me, my life, no odds will own me, my destiny, my way. Like a ghost unseen, tasting every scent, knowing with every breeze. The trail before me, the fire burning inside me. This is what we live for, honor, passion, and pain. This is my life, grinder born and raised. When that whistle blows, I'm on the trail, pounding in my head. There's a will, there's a way, there's a way, there's a way. This is my life, I know it's my day, my life. Don't think you know me, my life, no odds will own me, my destiny, my way. This is my life, runner born and raised. When that whistle blows, I'm on the trail, pounding in my head. There's a will, there's a way, there's a way, there's a way. This is my life, I know it's my day, my life. Don't think you know me, my life, no odds will own me, my destiny, my way.
All right, guys. That's it. Another couple stories in the books. I just took his unedited episode, or actually edited, but his full episode, and reposted. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys check out the Elk Bros. Like I said, one of my favorite podcasts, probably one of the 4 podcasts I listen to every week. And man, I couldn't speak higher of Joe and his entire squad. They all are happy to help anyone. All you got to do is reach out. So thank you, Joe. Thank you, Gilbert. Thank you, Louise. Thank you, RC. Thank you, Chav. Everybody that was there, the team that wasn't there. I think we'll go back and doing that again. But guys, what'd you think? Leave me some notes. Let me know if you liked that format. It's definitely different, but I think it's a lot of fun. At least I have a lot of fun recording them. And beyond that, guys, if you want to get your hunting camp together, let me know. I'd love to get your group of guys together. I think that when people are razzing each other, it adds to the kind of total experience, and that's kind of what I'm going for. Beyond that, if you could please share, review the podcast, I would appreciate it. And if you have a story you want to tell, reach out to me. But that's it, guys. Thank you so much. Now get out there and make some stories of your own.